everybody, welcome back to the Pro Physique Code. Today I got a special guest. I got Miss IFBB Bikini Pro Wendy Massey. How are you, Wendy?
I'm good.
Well, I think the exciting thing for me is I get asked a lot about, is it too late to start competing when I'm 40, 35, 45? Is it too late? And I'm always like, golly, like, I don't know. Maybe you just don't know the sport, but heck no. Like, if it's something you're excited about, give it a shot. So we've been together about 4 years. I think it was 2020 that we met officially. But let's get into your journey to competing, because
Okay.
I want to get everybody up to date where you are now. But when did you first get into the sport?
I got into the sport of 2017.
Oh, okay.
I actually started training for the spring of 2017, that January. So January 2017, I had kind of made up in my mind that November, December 2016 that I was going to compete and shoot for April 1st, the David Lieberman show.
Yeah, you live in Ohio, so
I live in Ohio, right?
one
And
of the
that
big
show was
shows.
going to be in Cleveland. I'm in Columbus, so that was the closest show to me at that time, during the time I wanted to start competing.
So just so everybody knows, so that means your first show, you were 46, 47?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I didn't even start lifting weights really until I was 45. Is when I started lifting weight and actually getting into the gym. Prior to that, I just did like Julian Michael tapes with my 5 and 10 pound weights, and I had a elliptical and a treadmill. So that was the extent of me trying to keep myself fit and toned at the time.
Did you play sports or anything growing up to have a foundation of muscle?
Nope. I never, most people think I've been a sprinter or something like that. I never was involved in sports in high school ever.
Okay.
So I didn't play anything.
Yeah, I think people are going to be maybe a little bit amazed by that, because to do your first show in your late 40s, what was the inspiration? Did you go to a show? Did you see somebody in the gym, like a picture?
Well, the inspiration was Steve, my fiance. He basically told me that I need to start pushing some weight. He saw what I was doing in my basement, and he was like, "You need to start going to the gym and start pushing some weight." And I told him, I said, "I'm not paying for a gym membership." And he was like, "I'll pay for it." And then I was like, "I don't know how to use the equipment." He was like, "I'll show you how to use the equipment." So at the time, I was on second shift at my job. So I started going to the gym with them, and he started showing me how to use all the machines, and I got comfortable. And there was a group I saw in the morning that they did a group. What was it? I can't remember what he called. Anyway, I was telling myself I want to get up enough endurance to be able to join a boot camp group in the morning. Okay. Which was an hour. So I eventually did that. Eventually started, then there was a lady in my gym. She was in her 50s and she was getting ready for her first show. And so she started competing, and then I saw she was winning shows. And so I started telling myself, and if she can do it, maybe I can do that. So she was telling me I should do it. Her trainer at the time, who was a MPC judge, Linda Andrews, she was in the gym as this lady's trainer. So eventually, between the two of them and then Steve, they're all in my ear telling me I should compete. I decided that I would try it. So there was a trainer in my gym, and he had one girl in this group, and I saw how he used to push her to push heavy weights, and I was like, I need somebody who can push me like that. So that November, I went to him and asked him if I can join his workout group in December to get ready for a show. So I joined his group and then just went from there. And I got my first show. So Cindy, the lady at my gym, she told me, well, maybe you should do a warm-up show with me at the end of March. Go to Kentucky. It's a smaller show. See how you do. Get the jitters out. because Lieberman's show in April was going to be a bigger show. So I won that show, my class. The following weekend was the Lieberman show, and it was much bigger. There was over 300 competitors at that show. And I won my class and I won the masters overall.
Nice. So you were
And I
hooked.
was hooked then.
Yeah, I think anyone that I'll put the thumbnail so everyone can see, but there are just certain people that are just like blessed in this sport, with crazy muscle structure, tiny waist. Like you just have like such a beautiful flowing physique that, the talent was probably off the charts from the beginning. I'm really funny to find out that Steve was the one that pushed you to lift weights because, I've talked to Daraja about that a lot. That's, her now husband was the same thing. He was like, you need to go to the gym and you need to lift. And so it's funny when the people around you recognize your talent and just see like, okay, you should be doing a little something in this direction.
Right.
Um,
So
it's neat. So, I mean, gosh, to not even pick up a weight. And then, so at what point did you go, well, I'd really like to go to the national stage and see how things go? Is this when that idea
actually,
popped
that
in?
same year, Tamara Watkins, that was at my gym.
Hmm.
She was a physique competitor and she used to teach posing. So I used to go to her posing class. And she was like, you just need to go to Pittsburgh to nationals and just see where you place so you have an idea. I didn't know anything about nationals. And
Sure.
I was just like, okay. So that was my fourth show. And I was in the 45 and up. Out of 21 women, I placed ninth,
Okay.
my first show.
What
So
was your, because I've had this experience many times now, but so like describe the first time you go to nationals, you're backstage, you're looking around. I mean, I know it's a little bit overwhelming, especially.
yes, it's overwhelming. It's a little intimidating because you see all these women, and you're kind of sizing them up and saying to yourself, "Ooh, I don't look like that," So you get that little self doubt. But it was overwhelming. But at the same time, that's when you start learning the community of
Sure.
bodybuilding because I met friends there that I'm still friends to this day. So it was fun at the same time. It was overwhelming, but it's fun and the experience. And then that's when you really tell yourself, okay, I can do this. And I really need to start really applying myself more and be more dedicated to the sport itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the beautiful thing about bodybuilding is it's a delayed gratification, just like a lot of things in life. You put in a lot of work for something potentially down the road that's not guaranteed. And so it takes a certain personality type to just put in the work day after day and
Yes.
then wait for that to pay off or not pay off. And those when you meet those people backstage, it's the same thing for me. The first bodybuilding show I ever went to, I'm still friends with a lot of those people. It's like
Mhm.
it's almost for a lot of times the first time you meet people that you're like, oh, you guys get me. I'm not
Right.
crazy, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Um, and especially now, competitors at that point, a lot of them have already done the thing where they've had kids and done the
Mhm.
careers, and so they are pursuing their actual things that they want to pursue. And it's one of the reasons I've loved coaching, masters competitors is because, gosh, the work is there, the focus is there, not a lot of the distractions, and they're doing it out of a passion for the process and the sport, not
Right.
necessarily for the recognition on social media or from strangers that might say, hey, you look really good. Or
Right.
I think it can start off, especially for me it did at a young age, as like a narcissistic endeavor.
Mhm.
But then it turns into like almost like a part of you, right? So
Right.
it's
Yeah, it's definitely like your own personal goal. Like me in particular, I'm not a social media person. I work in silence. I don't post much. Barely post anything. If anything, I can go a year without posting anything. But the self gratification, so
yeah.
that speaks volumes. to know that, oh, I can do this, and that determination, and just having the consistency and the patience. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think
great.
all those attributes are just really what defines success in bodybuilding. It's not a sport you can speed up the results. It's a sport where you got to stop, step back, and come back better.
Right. Oh yeah.
So after getting ninth at, you said that was Pittsburgh. Was that Masters Nationals or was that North Americans?
That was Masters National. And that's the thing about it. I didn't even know there was a North American. Like the next month, one of the
Yeah.
girls I met at Master National, she went to North America, and we talked after that show, and she was like, I got my pro card. And I was like, there was another show, because I didn't know. I was so new. I didn't
Yeah.
know where to go to look for the schedule, like,
Yeah.
NPC online news. I didn't know any of that. I just went because someone's like, oh, you should go to Pittsburgh. I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah, and a lot of times that when I first got into coaching, that's the same thing that happened to me. Over the years, you learn the schedule. Now it's burned in my brain. Like I know the
Right.
weekend dates. But the big picture now is, if I'm talking to a competitor who is a Masters competitor, I'm like, okay, we got the gauntlet is Universe, Masters Nationals, and North Americans. That block of shows is our window
Right.
to
Right.
to compete. Now they have the Masters USA at the end of the year, but I'm always a little more hesitant with that being a standalone show in like December
Yeah, it's
out in
so far out.
California,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
far
only
out.
the overall winners. So
Oh,
I
okay.
actually had a young lady win her class, and then she didn't win the overall, so she'll be doing the early shows this year. But
Yeah.
so there are a few other options now. So that was 2017 when you did that,
Yeah, 2017.
and when did you get your pro card?
2019 at Universe. So
Okay,
July 2019.
so you
And
learned the ropes.
yeah, I learned the ropes by then. That was my second time at Universe because I won in 18.
Okay.
And yeah, 2019, I got my pro card. So, and it was a great feeling, as a competitor when you get started. To me, as I continue my journey, first I wanted to win a show, got that, and I wanted to win my pro card, got that, and I finally got that first pro win. That was my third goal, so I got that this year. So I was happy. I'm happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's as I've seen it so many times now, just that feeling of that. I almost want to say it's relief, excitement of just getting moved to center, waiting for
Yes.
finals, and then,
Yeah.
in fifth, in fourth, in third. And
Right.
I swear, like,
Right.
whenever
Yeah.
it's my girl, they go in second, and they just don't say anything for like a minute. And then, then you don't want to hear anybody's name that until they say in first.
Right.
Um, it is such a feeling that you're like, okay. Now, here's something that I noticed, because early on when I had my Masters competitors turning pro, the question was inevitably like, what's next? And the one thing I've loved about this sport for so long is that there are steps and levels to it, right? Where you
Hmm.
go, okay, first show I want to get top 5. Next show I want to win my class. Next show maybe I want to win it overall. Then I want to go to
Right.
nationals and get a first. So there's so many things. And I think for a while there, I had Masters competitors that almost felt like once they got their pro card, they didn't really know like what was the next
Right.
tangible
What's
thing.
next?
Did you feel that at all, or were you like, okay, I'm just gonna start competing?
When I got my pro card, I just felt like a really like just I'm at the bottom again. Now you gotta crawl your way back up to see where I fit as a pro. Will I get in the top 5? Or when I started, it was top 3, so it really wasn't
Yeah.
top 5. So that was a little shock. Like, oh, they only award the top 3. So it's like, okay, so now you got to fight harder. Now there were some shows that would do top 5. But top 3 was a little disappointing. Like it's no more top 5. So yeah, it's just like I just felt like, okay, I gotta prove myself all over again now,
Yeah.
and climb, see if I can climb back in the top rankings. And I would be in the top. Usually my average placing was fourth in my first 2 years as a pro.
Yeah.
I will always get like fourth. And then last year, well, in 2022, I just the best I could do was one fourth place, and then I got a couple of eighth place, and I got a 10th place. So that was my worst year. And so I told Bryce, who writes my training program, every time he wrote my training program, I would put my goals in there. And I just worked really hard last year to try to build, because when I walked off stage, Sasquatch 2022 with Sandy, and she comes backstage and she talks to you, and she just said, "You need more depth. You need more depth in your glutes." And in my legs. And so I'm like, okay, glutes and legs, glutes and legs. I need to be more balanced. So every time he wrote my program, I would put that in there. And I just worked hard last year, and it paid off. So this year, I haven't heard that for the first time, that
Yeah.
you need more depth in your glutes, you need more legs. And so she even told me when I did Sasquatch this year and I got second place, she was like, what you did in a year was amazing. She even sent my last year pictures with my this year picture. So I felt like mission accomplished. Like, yes, I finally made the goals that I set out for, and it was rewarded. I got first twice this year. I had 4 second places and one
Yeah.
fourth place.
Yeah. Definitely our best year on stage. And
yes, definitely.
I still feel like Sasquatch could have gone the other way, I get, I call them coaches goggles, but that's the thing about coaching is you get so close to your athletes that it's almost like you focus on them.
Right.
But, then you got to be objective, talk to the judges and make sure,
Right.
okay, maybe we are coming in too hard. Maybe we're coming in too soft, whatever it is that they're seeing.
Right.
But, you've steadily improved. And I think that's really why I wanted to talk to you today, because there was a period where I think you even mentioned to me, I'm not sure I'm going to compete anymore after 2022.
Right.
There was a phase where
Yeah.
I think you had to have a hip surgery and you just weren't sure if the fire was there. And we
Right.
kind of just, kept in touch, and then you were back. And so,
Right. And you was actually surprised.
well,
It was like,
it's not uncommon. I have the benefit of coaching people for many years, and Kathy Seitz, who I coached her to her pro card and to placing at pro shows. And after a couple shows, she said, "You know what, coach, I think I'm ready to go on to a new phase of my life." I'm not
right.
expecting her to come back. And you were a little less certain. You were like, "I think."
I was borderline. I was on the, teetering back and forth. And,
Yeah. But
I talked it over with Miriam. Me and Miriam are best friends. And
yeah,
I just kept going back and forth. And she's listened to me and being my sounding board and giving me advice and so forth. And we went to a show last year. We always try to go to a show just to be spectators and watch. And we went to the Charlotte Pro, and it was a
yeah,
master show, and seeing my friends up there again, and it
yeah,
just kind of lit the fire. And then I came to Pittsburgh Pro. That's when
yeah,
I seen you, and it just lit the fire. And I told you, I'm like, I think I want to compete again this
yeah.
year.
I can't tell you how common that is when people, I just got off the phone with one of my girls that just turned pro in December, and she's like, how do I know when it's time to get on stage again? And I said, basically, when I can't tell you no,
Right.
right? Like I go, you're either going to see a friend compete, you're going to go to a show, you're going to see an Instagram post or a YouTube video, you're going to see something that's going to give you like an emotional response, and
Mm-hmm.
just listen to that,
Right.
and in the
Right.
meantime, just keep growing, because,
Right.
that's how you come back better. And I'll tell you, like, the Arnold kicks off a lot of people's emotions. There's going to be a lot of people that, like, within a week of that show, hey coach, feel like I'm ready to compete again. Once they
Oh
start
yeah.
seeing that and the clash, you get to
Yes.
see all these girls in the bikinis looking great, and you go, man, okay, I'm ready to be back. And I think that's one thing I'll say about bodybuilders is, like, it helps to just stay in the community,
Yes. It
continue
definitely,
support the
definitely.
sport as a spectator, as a fan, as a friend, as a posing
Right.
coach, whatever it is you do.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, honestly, and you came back like refreshed, renewed. And I
Yes.
think it honestly shocked Miriam because like Miriam used to, she said to me this year, during the season, Coach, I don't know. I used to beat Wendy, but now I can't beat her no more. She beats me, and I'm like, well, not for nothing. She's continued to progress. Like she's added muscle in the right areas. We've figured out her conditioning to a T. Like we know where they
Mhm.
like her. They like her a little
Right,
bit on leaner side, but nice and full. And I feel
right.
like, so it's not only that you're still competing, it's that you're still getting better, which
Yeah,
is which is awesome.
right.
And even ending the season with a pro win, as I mean, that's just got to be proof right there that the work's been worth it.
Oh yeah, and it's just motivation going into this season.
Yeah.
It's like riding my coattails of that pro win. I'm like, makes me wonder, ooh, what can I do this season? Can I get another win up under my belt? Will I be in the top three? Because going into the shows, for me, I always want to be in the top three. You
Yeah.
always first thing is first call outs. That's always my first goal.
Yeah.
I got to make it to first call outs. And then you just look for that to get moved in towards the center more and more and more, to come out in the top three. So that's always my goal. And of course, in the back of my head, I always wanted to win a pro show. I'm like, if I can win
Yeah.
another show, that would just be my goal that I want as a pro. Everyone wants to win their show.
Yeah. And
So,
I think of all my competitors, that's the thing. It's coming back better is the most important thing.
mhm,
Obviously, if you're in the top three, coming back better means winning. But if
right.
you're in second call outs, I've had girls get in first call outs and that you would have thought they won the Olympia. Coach, I
Right,
got
because
call out.
right,
So
you did what you were supposed to do. You've gotten better, and your
exactly.
judges see it.
That's
And so,
that's
yeah,
the true kind of spirit of the sport of bodybuilding. And that's
yes,
honestly like, the thing about Sandy when you talk to her after the show is that she doesn't ask how you placed or where you placed. She'll actually be like, how old are you? She'll be like, oh my gosh, I would kill to look like you. Who cares where you placed, right?
right.
Because sometimes you're in a show with 40-year-olds, like some of the pro shows, they don't really have that, the
Right.
proper. So sometimes she's just like, that's just the way it is today, but you look insane. And it's one thing I've always loved about her. Her perspective on the sport is
Mhm.
she provides like, okay, this is how you place today, but look how much better you look. Just like you said, like
Right.
sending the
Yes.
pictures.
Yes.
Um,
Sending me the pictures.
so
Right. And that's motivation.
she keeps the sport progressing forward. And,
Yeah, she does.
getting to know
Definitely.
her early on in my coaching career was very beneficial because I think you can assume judges are a certain way or think a certain way, and then you come
Mhm.
to realize, no, 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 their interests are in the best interest of the competitors.
Yes.
And so that's been that makes it much more enjoyable sport for me to coach. And then just seeing you progress like to this last season where, at this point, when your name's on the list, I know a lot of
Mhm.
girls are like, damn, Wendy's coming.
Yes, I had girls tell me that this season as they saw me progress this year, they was like, "Oh, Wendy, I seen your name on the list. It's not that I don't want you to be here, but
Yeah, and I mean, a couple of years ago, there was a couple girls like you saw their name on the list. They're winning. They're,
right." I
you know,
mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I see Mary's name on the list or
yeah,
Angela Russilli, I know it's
yeah,
just like, okay, those
yeah.
are the girls to beat. That's what we're striving.
I feel
That's who
like
I'm striving to beat.
one year Mary won every show she did, like literally.
Every show she did,
Yeah,
she's fantastic. Mary's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
And I love her to death, and she's one of
Well,
my
and that's the
friends.
other great thing is like, and we were in Pittsburgh that time, and she came out to eat with us after and hung out, and like
Yes, she came out to eat with us. Exactly.
there's a camaraderie there with the competitors. I feel like
Yes,
there's less clickiness than there is maybe with the younger competitors, and
yes. With
that
the
could be my
master girls,
perception.
we're very supportive. We always take pictures together.
Yeah,
So yeah, because we all understand, and we've been through that. Where the 20-year-olds is at. We're not clicky like that.
yeah,
It's an
yeah. Well,
understanding and
there's
respect.
not a there's not a sense of like, oh, if you do well, it means I don't do well, so I don't like you
Right.
for that. It's more of like,
Exactly.
hey,
Yeah.
sometimes it's going to be my day, sometimes it might be your day.
Exactly.
Um, and I've also noticed a lot of the times people are very realistic. I know I'm not at my best, or like, I know I'm at my best. Like, you guys have seen your physique so many times. You have an understanding of expectations, which can
Right.
help. So let's talk about the big picture for Masters bikini, because they did introduce a Masters Olympia, which initially I was really excited about. Then I come to find out it's 40 and over, right? So like
Right.
they don't have a 50 and over yet. So for me, the big title in your space is the World Championships in Pittsburgh.
Hmm.
Like it has that title. Um, is that a is that in the back of your brain?
I thought about that show this year.
It was a lot earlier than we started competing. We didn't even come out until late.
Right. It's
I think it was
last year
July.
it was Labor Day weekend. I think it was September 3rd last year. And this year it's late
Oh,
again.
okay.
I
So
think
maybe
it's
it was
September
the
1st.
weekend of North Americans then.
So yes,
Okay.
yes, it was that weekend. So,
One year it
that's
was
just
the
a
weekend of
weekend
Masters
for me
Nationals.
at work. I have to work on that weekend because usually as a supervisor working for the 911 center here in
Yeah.
Columbus, it's a bad weekend. It's a holiday weekend, and the police department never closes. So I don't know, but I did think about that show this year. I looked at the schedule. I'm trying to pick out shows that's closer together, not so spread out. So once I
Yeah.
start a show, I can do 3 or 4 and be done within a 8 to 10 week period, probably within 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Hit 4 shows and be done. So
Well, and there's some cool show titles, like between Tim Gardner shows, and you've got Joe Pascula's shows, and you've got like the Nashville Fit show. I'm sure you want to win Sasquatch now that you went all the way up to second, like, so there are some cool shows that are like, okay, as a competitor, you can look at like getting a title,
yes,
that's kind of
yes,
the next way to, you know,
right.
level
Yeah.
up your career.
Oh yeah, sometimes it's like, "Ooh, I want a crown." You want a crown, so I'm like, I got my crown now. So certain things, and with Tim's show, I got a sash, and so those little things, it's just like icing on the cake when you win. It's like, oh, cool, I got a sash, I got a crown now. Only
Yeah,
thing I don't have is a sword.
Tim and Joe kind of go all out with the awards. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's yeah.
It's great.
It's such a small thing, but I love trophies, and I get so bummed when everyone just gets a medal. Like I feel like first place should get trophies. I always,
I did get a trophy. I got 2 trophies
yeah,
this year for
yeah,
coming
yeah,
in
yeah.
first place. So
Tim's
yes,
Tim's good about that. Like
yeah,
you know, you go to a Tim Gardner show, first thing you see when you go backstage is all them trophies. You're
yes,
like, okay, I want one of them.
yep. You,
Like,
you want one of those when you see all the trophies. It's like, yes, I want a trophy. So you're
yeah. So
exactly right.
it's a memento of the sport, but I also I think it just shows that the promoters are going out of their way to make sure everybody feels good. And um yeah, so I'll be at all Tim's and all the class shows this year, probably all the Pittsburgh shows, all the Masters National shows again. So full slate this year. So I'm sure we'll pick a time frame that makes sense for you. um Hopefully, because I didn't get to go to Daytona. I was only at Hurricane this year with you.
Right,
um
right,
but everything keeps changing with the schedule. Now they've
right.
moved the Olympia all the way up to October 14th from November 17th. So it's like a whole month earlier this
Oh
year. So
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's almost back to September where it was. So, you know,
yeah, yeah. I was
a
planning.
lot of things happen when they move that show around, because obviously like the whole world shuts down for the Olympia.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I went when it was in September in Vegas. I went out there a couple of times. So
Yeah. Well, I'm going to see you in a couple weeks. I'm assuming you're going to be there at the Arnold since you live there.
yes, Miriam's coming in.
Yeah.
So
She's actually doing the fashion show, right? And
the show.
every week
Yeah,
when she checks in, all right, coach, I'm doing the fashion show. I'm like, well,
right, right.
put
So
down the popcorn, Miriam.
she got to keep it right, keep it tight.
Um, and then it's always such a thrill to watch the bikini judging, because it's so abbreviated. I think there's 12 this year. It's like 2 call outs. It's very quick. It's not like the
Yep,
Olympia where you
they're
got like
quick.
an hour before
Yep, yep,
between call outs and posing routines. So it's
yeah,
always, you just get to know right away, bang, who's on, who's going to be doing well.
right, yeah.
It's exciting. It kind of kicks off the year.
Yeah,
So
it does. It does. All the shows start after that. I mean, their shows what overseas or something. But yeah, the Arnold kicks it off. It starts in my backyard here, so it's great. Get to go down there, get the motivation, watching all the bikini girls. I get to see some of my friends. So yeah, it's a great time.
yeah, well, make sure you have the weather nice and warm for us that week. I'll appreciate some
I
60s.
wish. Speaking of that, when I was there for the the workshop, the MPC women's workshop, it was cold in Florida.
We had a cold spell like I've never had since I've lived here. It was
It,
below
it was
40 for a while.
yes, it
Yeah.
was cold.
Yeah. Like
So,
I was
but
living in long underwear, which that's weird. Like I hadn't sweat for like a week. I'm like, something's wrong. Yeah.
I wish, but yeah, it's Ohio. You just have your winter coat
Oh,
on.
I know. I'm prepared for 0 and hopeful for 60. So
Right.
we'll see.
And you never would know what you're gonna get in Ohio in March. So
Well, I know
definitely.
you don't post much on social media, but you guys need to give Wendy a follow. Keep up with her this year because she's I get a lot of people ask me for like, you know, inspirations in the sport. I think you're a great one.
Well, thank you.
You have such a great attitude, a great approach. Everyone loves being around you. So yeah, I'd love to you know, have you be such a good representative for the sport. Even for me, I'm so proud to be associated with you. It's just it's been awesome to see you kind of evolve as a competitor over the last couple of
Yeah,
years.
and you always been there, always been in my ear, always told me that I had a great physique. He was like, you have what it takes. So, and just finally to see it evolve it's been so, very gratifying to finally see it come to fruition. It's like, okay, finally got the balance, finally got the symmetry, finally got the depth,
Yeah.
so
Conditioning's never been a problem for you. If anything, we always have to be a little bit careful. It's almost
yeah,
like as soon as everything starts to come in, you start to get a little too hard. It's like we got to walk that fine line at the end of prep where we are
right.
full
But
but
then
still
I
tight.
dropped. Remember this year, I would drop like 4 pounds, 2 to 4 pounds, and then I'm like, oh, I dropped this much because I always tell you, only thing I need is some rest. Once I get my rest,
Yep.
I get settled, it will kick in, and then it kick in a little bit too much, and then you're like, okay, you give me extra carbs that day, I'll get my burger and fry or a burger to fill me back out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I think that's a learning experience too, the burger and fries, that's always a little scary to do the day before the show, but seeing, multiple times how you've responded to it, it's what keeps us from getting too hard on show day. It keeps you full on show day.
Right. Yeah.
And it's
It works
almost
for me.
it's almost the best look we have when you're super filled out, like that's the look that they love for you.
Yeah.
Then, otherwise you can be a little bit too grainy or we can start to see some too much detail
Right.
in the muscles. So
Yeah.
everybody's got a different kind of need on show day, food
Oh yeah,
wise and things
definitely.
like that. So,
Right. And
um,
it's finding what works for
yeah, sometimes I don't like talking about it because, I got one girl eating a burger and fries and the other girl, I had to cut her carbs the day before the show to keep her tight. So it's like, you know, you got to do what we got to do. You get
oh
your burger. I
definitely.
promise after the show, you can have a burger, but
Right.
well, thank you, Wendy, for sharing your story, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks.
Well, thank you. And I do want to say that, for all the master ladies out there or anyone who's thinking about it in their 40s, go for it. Because when we was at the women's workshop, Sandy said that in the pro level, 60% are master competitors and 46% in the MPC are master competitors.
That is wild. It makes
Yes.
sense if you think about it from the perspective of like, okay, we're at a point in our lives where we can kind of pursue our passions.
Yes.
It's hard to compete in your 20s if you're trying to be social and, it takes a very specific type of person, but
And the
yeah.
finance it's
Oh yeah,
it's
that's
an
a big part of it.
expensive sport,
Yeah.
you know.
That's very true too. So Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why when I first started having a considerable amount of girls turn pro in the Masters League, I was a little concerned. I was like, man, what now? Y'all ain't thinking about where they're going to go. You got them a pro card and then they're just going to disappear. So they're not staying in the now, man, there. I mean, that Daytona show was
Was
packed.
huge and it
Yeah.
was long.
Yeah. Which
We didn't get out there till like 11 o'clock. I felt like an NPC competitor that day.
Misty Gauthier was not happy. She was
Yeah,
like,
it was
that
so long.
her
Wow.
season ended it because of that. She's like, I'm done. I'm done
Yeah,
competing right now.
yeah,
Like she needed a break. And I
yeah.
think she was in there, top 2, top 3. She was up close to the middle, but I
Yeah,
think
she got
she got
third
off.
place. She
Yeah,
got
she
third
got off
place.
stage and she was more mad. She was like, I'm done. I'm mad. She was more mad. I'm like, all right.
Yes,
Yeah.
we was a little upset,
Yeah.
and because they took so long, and then by the time we were last, bikini, and then they was rushing everything,
Right.
for finals. They changed it in the middle, like finals. They was letting everybody starting to do their routines again, and we're like, why? If it's already late, it's already been decided. And then they would do the awards where they kept speeding it up, speeding it up, speeding it up. And by the time bikini came on, it was just like you come out, they gave you your award, and we was done. But we didn't get out there till 11:30 that night.
Well, and for anyone that doesn't know, Daytona is a sleepy, there is nothing open after 8 o'clock in Daytona Beach.
We did find a restaurant.
Like a Waffle House, maybe?
No,
IHOP?
the promoter, he told us where to go.
Oh, okay.
And so we was able to go and get some food there. It
Oh,
was a
okay. That's
live
good.
band. And so, yeah, we
Oh, all
probably
right. Well, I take it back
got
then.
back to the
Daytona's happening
hotel
after
to
dark.
we got back to the hotel about 1:30. There was only like 2 places open. It wasn't
Okay.
hardly anything, but yeah.
Perfect.
So
Well, here's to making some more memories.
let's do it. I'm excited.
All right,
Uh,
guys. Thanks for following along the Pro Physique Code, and we'll talk to you soon.
and thanks for having me. All
Thanks,
right.
Wendy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.